Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Brandon, also known as Super Fanboy Guy, and I just wanted to do another Dragon Ball Z Panini deck profile video for my channel because I was on my channel looking at the analytics the other day, and I noticed that, lately I've been doing a lot of Versus System content, mostly like my podcasts and other Versus System deck profile videos, and I didn't realize that the only Panini Dragon Ball Z TCG deck profile I did was the Saiyan Empowered Broly that I think I did like 3 or 4 months ago. And I realized that, oh my gosh, I did not have very many Dragon Ball Z deck profiles on my channel. So I decided to record a new video, and in this video, I'm going to be showcasing my Red Roshi deck. And what this deck is your main personality is Master Roshi. And essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to win by the most powerful personality victory, or MPPV. And you have a bunch of cards in the deck that raise your anger, that, want to make you to get to level 4 as fast as possible. So that's kind of what this deck is. And I'm just going to talk about the cards that we have in the deck and some of the strategies that we use with some of the cards that can really help you, achieve victory at a fast rate. Some of the players in the community, after the Panini TCG game died, decided to continue with the game with their own set called FanZ, and with that they also came with like an updated banner restricted list that I will put in the description of this video. But there's a couple of cards that they banned, like Visiting the Past, and they also banned the Red Enraged Master Roshi to not be used with Master Roshi for obvious reasons. So this is a deck that I just kind of play casually with my friends, and if I was going to play this deck competitively, going by the FanZ banned and restricted list, I would replace the Red Enraged Mastery with the Red Ascension Mastery. If you are going to play the Red Ascension Mastery over the Red Enraged Mastery, there are some cards that you would have to take out of your deck, because there are some cards that go really well with the Red Enraged Mastery, and if you're obviously going to change it, then you would need to take out some of those cards. Also, you would need to take out the 2 Visiting the Past and put in 2 different cards in the deck if you wanted to play this competitively, because those are banned. But as for this video, I'm just going to talk about the deck the way that I have it now. And like I mentioned before, this is just a general deck that I still use. I don't plan on playing in any competitive events anytime soon, so I'm just going to talk about the deck in general the way that it is now. So with that being said, I'm just going to go straight into the deck profile. So let's talk about the Red Enraged Mastery and what it does. Whenever you use a critical damage effect, raise your anger 1 level. Whenever you advance a personality level, draw a card and then discard a card from your hand. When you lower a personality level, you may draw a card. So let's talk about our main personality. We run Master Roshi Unexpected, Master Roshi Overwhelmed, Master Roshi Catcher, and Master Roshi Barricade. Our level 1 Master Roshi has a continuous effect. After your life deck is shuffled, you may rejuvenate 1. He has the power, choose a setup or drill in your hand and place it into play to prevent all damage from an attack. Raise your anger 2 levels. Our level 2 Master Roshi has an ability, when you advance to this personality level, you may return a setup or drill you control to its owner's hand. He has a continuous effect. After your life deck is shuffled, you may raise your anger 1 level. He also has a power, return a setup or drill in play to its owner's hand to prevent all damage from an attack. Our level 3 Master Roshi has an ability, when you advance to this personality level, you may return a setup or drill to its owner's hand. He has a continuous power, your opponent plays with his hand revealed. Whenever you rejuvenate, you may destroy the top card of your opponent's life deck. And he has a power, use at the end of combat, search your discard pile for a setup or drill and place it into play. The level 4 Master Roshi has an effect. The first time each turn when your opponent uses an effect to search a life deck or discard pile for 1 card, you may search and choose that card instead of your opponent. He has a power, banish a drill or setup you control to destroy the top 4 cards of your opponent's life deck. In this deck we run 5 energy combat cards, and those are 2 copies of Focused Assault and 3 copies of Enraged Blast. Focused Assault is a heroes only, banish after use. It has Endurance 2. It's an energy attack costing 2 stages, damage 4 life cards. You may destroy an attached card. If you do, this attack deals +3 life cards of damage. Enraged Blast, banish after use, energy attack costing 3 stages, damage 4 life cards, raise your anger 2 levels. For our physical combat attack cards, we run 3 copies of Red Shoulder Grab, 3 copies of Red Double Strike, 3 copies of Red Face Break, 3 copies of Red Knee Lift, 3 copies of Red Mule Kick, and 2 copies of Master Roshi's Back Strike. Red Shoulder Grab. Physical attack, damage AT plus 3 stages, raise your anger 1 level. For the remainder of combat, all of your other attacks are considered to deal critical damage. Red Double Strike, physical attack, raise your anger 1 level. This attack stays in play to be used a second time this combat, damage AT stages. Red Face Break, physical attack, raise your anger 1 level. You may discard a card from your hand. If you do, draw a card. Damage AT plus 4 stages, banish after use. Red Knee Lift, physical attack, damage AT stages, use a critical damage effect. Hit, you may lower your anger 1 level. If you do, use a critical damage effect. Red Mule Kick. Endurance 2, physical attack, damage AT plus 2 stages, raise your anger 1 level. You may banish an attached card in play. If that card was red, use a critical damage effect. Master Roshi's Back Strike, limit 2 per deck, physical attack. You may search your life deck for a card and place it into your hand. Damage AT plus 1 stage. Hit, gain 10 stages, banish after use. Next, we're going to talk about our Energy Combat Defense cards, which are 3 copies of Red Energy Defensive Stance and 3 copies of Red Sacrifice. Red Energy Defensive Stance. Endurance 2. Stop an energy attack, raise your anger 1 level. Red Sacrifice. If this card is discarded from your hand by a card effect, raise your anger 2 levels, and damage from your next attack this combat cannot be prevented. Stops an energy attack. For our physical combat defense cards, we run 3 copies of Red Blocking Hand and 3 copies of Red Resourceful Block. Red Blocking Hand stops a physical attack, raise your anger 2 levels, gain 2 stages. Red Resourceful Block. Endurance 3. Stop a physical attack, lower your MP 1 level. If you do, advance your MP 1 level at the end of combat. For the event cards, we have 1 copy of Red Observation, 1 copy of Red Antidote, 1 copy of Time is a Warrior's Tool, and 2 copies of Confrontation. Red Observation. Limit 1 per deck. Power. Your main personality pays 5 power stages to destroy all allies, setups, and drills. Lower your main personality to a 0 power stage, raise your anger 1 level. Red Antidote. Power. Banish all attached cards in play, raise your anger X levels. X equals the number of cards banished this way. Banish after use. Endurance 3. Time is a Warrior's Tool. Limit 1 per deck. Power. Stop a physical or energy attack. Stops all of your opponent's attacks this combat. Confrontation! Heroes only. Power. Look at your opponent's hand and choose a card. Your opponent shuffles that card into his or her life deck. Continuing with the setup cards, we run 2 copies of Red Bribe, 3 copies of Red Blaze, 3 copies of Red Relaxation, 1 copy of Dragon Radar, 2 copies of Visiting the Past, and 3 copies of Master Roshi's Slumber. Red Bribe. Power. Use the immediate effects of a Dragon Ball in play. Banish after use. Red Blaze. Power. Raise your anger 1 level. Rejuvenate 2. You may use a critical damage effect. Red Relaxation. Banish after use. Power. Use when entering combat. Use a critical damage effect. Your main personality gains 2 stages. Draw the bottom card of your discard pile. Dragon Radar. Limit 1 per deck. Banish after use. Power. Search your life deck for a Dragon Ball and play it. Visiting the Past. Limit 2 per deck. Banish after use. Power. Use when entering combat. Search your discard pile for a card and place it into your hand. If you have more than 3 cards in your hand, place a card from your hand at the bottom of your life deck. Master Roshi's Slumber. You may reveal this card from your hand and place it at the bottom of your life deck to prevent all damage from a styled attack. Power. Use when entering combat. Look at the top 10 cards of your life deck and place them back in any order. Banish 3 cards from a discard pile. Banish after use. And concluding our deck profile, we run 1 copy of each of the 7 Namek Dragon Balls. I want to also mention that the Dragon Ball effects, unless they have a continuous effect, when you play them, you get the ability of the Dragon Ball right away. Namek Dragon Ball 1. Your other Dragon Balls cannot be captured. Your attacks deal +1 life card of damage. Namek Dragon Ball 2. You may lower a personality 1 level. Namek Dragon Ball 3. Draw 3 cards, place 2 cards from your hand on the bottom of your life deck. Raise or lower a player's anger 1 level. Namek Dragon Ball 4. Destroy up to 2 setups or drills. Namek Dragonball 5, Game 5 stages, raise your anger 1 level, draw a card, rejuvenate 1. Namek Dragonball 6, your MP's power up rating is +3. Your opponent's attacks deal -2 stages of damage. Namek Dragonball 7, choose 3 cards from your discard pile and place them on the top of your life deck. Destroy the top 3 cards of your opponent's life deck. So now we're going to talk about some of the cool things that the deck does, and the first thing I want to talk about is Red Sacrifice. We have a lot of cards in our deck that discard cards, so for an example, our Mastery allows us to, when we advance 1 personality level, we're able to draw a card and discard a card. Obviously, Red Sacrifice is one of the cards you want to discard, because when you discard it, you're going to raise your anger 2, which, you know, raising your anger 2 in this game is huge, because, you know, the more, if you get to level 5, or excuse me, if you have 5 anger, you advance to your next personality level. So that's why having Red Sacrifice is really good, and that's kind of how we advance our personality really fast. So that's kind of the cool thing you can do with Red Sacrifice. The next thing I want to talk about is the Focus Assault. And the reason why we play Focus Assault is because this deck gets hurt. Like, the number 1 card that really hurts this deck, in my opinion anyway, is the Wall Breaker card. It's a physical combat card, and if you don't know what it is, I'll put a picture in the YouTube video so you all can look at it. But Focus Assault allows us to detach it so that we can raise our anger and still get to those personalities, because obviously Wall Breaker kind of is a roadblock to us gaining anger, so that's why we have to run Focus Assault. That's why we also run the 1 copy of Red Antidote, because we may need to use it to get rid of a Wall Breaker that's on our Master Roshi main personality. So that's kind of something else to consider as well. I want to also mention that Red Mule Kick is also one of the cards that can help us get rid of attached cards to our personality, like the Wall Breaker for an example. But there might be some other attached cards that your opponent plays in the game that might be kind of troublesome, that, you know, you just might want to get rid of. But this card, we mainly want to get Wall Breaker off of our personality. And just remember, Red Mule Kick is you may banish an attached card in play, so it can be attached to you or your opponent's main personality. So, you know, and obviously if it's a red card, you get to use a critical damage effect, which means you get to raise your anger 1 because of our Mastery. So Red Mule Kick is definitely one of the better red cards that help get rid of attached cards for sure. So that's kind of also something to mention. Now you'll notice in the deck that we use a lot of cards that deal critical damage or have ways of dealing critical damage. So for an example, we have Red Shoulder Grab, which is when we play it, all of our attacks are considered to deal critical damage. So what critical damage is, it's an ability that when you deal 5 or more life cards of damage, that you can use one of 3 effects. You can lower your opponent's anger 1, capture a Dragonball, or you can destroy an ally. But with our Mastery, whenever we use a critical damage effect, we raise our anger 1. So, one of the next combos that I want to talk about the deck is with Red Shoulder Grab and Red Double Strike. So what we do is we play Red Shoulder Grab. So now all of our attacks are considered to deal critical damage. So with Red Double Strike, what this does is, since it already has raise 1 anger by itself, but if we're able to hit them with Red Double Strike and get that critical damage in, every time we use this card, we're gaining essentially 2 anger. And since it can be used in play to be used a second time, we have the potential to gain a total of 4 anger from Red Double Strike with Red Shoulder Grab. So that's also one thing that I really love about those 2 cards together. So Red Resourceful block is kind of an interesting choice here. If I was going to switch Masteries like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this would probably be one of the cards that I would cut from the deck, and I would probably put another physical combat defense card in its place. But with Red Resourceful block, you know, you're able to stop a physical attack. Then you can lower your main personality 1 level, and with the Mastery, when you lower a level, you get to draw a card. And then at the end of combat, you get to raise your main personality up 1 level. So then when you raise it up during that time, you get to draw a card and discard a card as well. And obviously, the card you would want to discard is, like I mentioned earlier, Red Sacrifice. So that is also something cool you could do with the deck as well. Red Bribe is a really interesting part in this deck because, as I mentioned before, you're able to use the immediate effects of a Dragon Ball in play. Doesn't mean that you have to control the Dragon Ball. So let's say your opponent has a Dragon Ball out, or if they've captured your Dragon Ball, and they have it on their side, so if they capture like your Namek Dragon Ball 4, and it's on their side of the field, you could still use the effects of it, which is pretty cool. And one thing that I forgot to mention too in the deck profile is the reason why we run all 7 Dragon Balls in the game is because another way you can win in the game is if you have all 7 Dragon Balls on your side of the field. So for whatever reason, if the gaining the anger and winning by main personality strategy doesn't work in the deck, we rely on the Dragon Balls as a kind of like a secondary win condition. So that's why I decided to put all 7 Dragon Balls in this deck. It was just to have an alternative, to have a alternate win condition. Another card that I would maybe think about cutting for something else is I would maybe take out the Enraged Blast for maybe something else, but I couldn't think of anything better to put in the deck. And this also raises our Anger 2 levels off of 1 card, which is really good. So if anybody has any suggestions what I can put in place of this card, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I would say that one of our best physical combat cards in the deck is definitely Red Blocking Hand. And this card is just... And, I just want to mention, too, that Red Blocking Hand was actually a card that was in the original Dragon Ball Z score game, the score TCG. So this is a direct reprint from that card, and it just, stops the physical attack because since Master Roshi has a very low power level on all of his personalities, we're really vulnerable to physical attacks. So the play Red Blocking Hand is, to stop a physical attack where we can gain 2 stages and raise our Anger 2 is really helpful. So that's why I really like this card. I was a fan of the card since the score days, and I still like it for this game. So that's why I got to run the full package of that. It's just probably one of the best physical combat defense cards that I've ever played in the deck, for sure. Master Roshi's Backstrike, I just want to mention that there are several cards you can search for with this effect. But I think the card that I mainly get is I definitely get Red Shoulder Grab. Probably a lot of times. But at the same time, I try to get cards that maybe raise my Anger 2, or, if I need a Time as a Warrior's Tool is another good card that I would like to get with this. So, but I guess it all depends on the situation and where you're at. You might even want to get a Dragon Ball card with Master Roshi's Backstrike. And the other thing too that you could in theory get is you could get a Dragon Ball card if it's let's say you have 6 Dragon Balls in play and you need the last one, and you could search it on your deck. Then when it comes to your turn, you can just play it and win. So yeah, that's kind of a cool thing you can do with Master Roshi's Backstrike. So I think that's going to conclude it for this deck profile video. Obviously, there's a lot more strategies that I could talk about with the deck. But, there's just so many things you can do with it. And, I don't know that... this could probably be a 2-hour video if I talked about all the strategies in the deck. But thanks, everybody, for watching. And if you want to see more Dragon Ball Z, Panini, TCG deck profiles, or anything related for that matter... And it really supports me as a content creator. So if you guys can just take a few seconds or a few moments just to like, comment, and subscribe, it would really mean a lot to me. And, I love this game. It's the best Dragon Ball Z game that I've ever played. I definitely think the Panini TCG game, they really fixed a lot of the rules that the score game had. And I just feel like it's a fun game that I love to play with friends. There's nothing else to say about that. So with that being said, thanks again for watching, and we will see you next time.